always like to start by just with a quick thank you. Thank you, to the people that raise their hand. If you're Buckeye fans, through and through, just thank you, because if it's not for the fans, I never had an opportunity to have some of the memories that I have, to learn the life lessons that I've learned, and the education that I received. I understand that it comes from all the support from our fans, the people that buy the jerseys, watch the TVs, and I want to give you guys a quick thank you just for allowing me to have an opportunity like this to get up and share a little bit about what the game of football means to me and what the game of football has taught me. Because it's, when you really look on the surface, the game of football, I love football. I think it's the greatest game on earth, but probably not for, the reasons that you might think. See, to me, football it's so powerful because it takes boys, if you start playing it at a young age, and eventually young men, and it readies us for anything that life is going to throw your way. I've learned so many lessons and so many things that I can apply to my family, my ministry, business, sports, you name it. It's, working around my property. I have about 4.5 acres, and when Brian asked me to come here and speak, the first question was, what is the Ohio Turfgrass Foundation? What are you doing? And you guys have a show? And then I got excited about it because I want to walk around and see, because there's nothing better than a nice stripe in my lawn. It drives my wife crazy because I won't even let her get on my lawnmower. I got a 60-inch mower, and she has to beg me to mow the grass. But when Brian asked me to come, I said, I'd love to show up and just share a little bit about what the game of football means to me and what it's taught me about what it takes to be successful in life. Like I said, any walk of life. It doesn't matter if you're a little boy trying to grow up and play football. It doesn't matter if you're trying to run a business, if you're trying to sell a product, if you're trying to do something at your church, if you're just trying to be a good husband, wife, mother, father. It doesn't, to me, there's common ingredients that it takes to be good at whatever we do. And football has taught me these things as I look back over the course of my career. And the first thing that I realized early on, and I had a chance to really start to learn it from my parents and my brother, and then really got a chance to understand what it truly means from Jim Tressel, from our former coach, Coach Tressel, is how important it is in any aspect of our life to have a foundation, to have that stable ground that we know we can always go to, and how important that is as we're trying to develop a plan for whatever we're doing. And when I was young, I used to think, man, I got this plan for life. And my plan looked just like my older brother. My older brother, Brian, is 5 years my senior, and he's an orthopedic surgeon now. And if any of you have been younger siblings, you know what it's like probably to look up to your older siblings. And as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be like my brother Brian, so much that I was standing at his wedding, and I was his best man. And my whole life I had just kind of mimicked his plan and what his life looked like. And I was standing up there and realized about halfway through the reception that the maid of honor and myself, we forgot to give our toast. Customarily you're supposed to give your toast before the wedding, or before the dinner rather. Well, we were both young. I was 21, 22 years old. I was an idiot, and she was more of an idiot than I was. And we eat dinner, everybody's dancing, halfway through the night, everybody's having a good old time, spirits are flowing, and I looked at Paige and said, Paige, we never gave the toast. And by that time, we were all having fun, so I just, my mom was looking at me like this. I go over and I grab the microphone, and I start pounding on it, and I start talking. And I got up and I said, I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to be Brian's best man. I said, as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be like my big brother. He was good in school. He played baseball. He played basketball. He played football. I played football. He was a quarterback in high school. I got a chance to play quarterback. He played college football at Duke. And I know for those of you that are out there wondering, yes, Duke does have a football team from time to time. And I looked around and I said, my whole life's plan has been just like Brian's. And I stopped and I said, but the only difference is I've been better at every single thing that I've ever done. And of course, when I said that, I looked down and my mom was like standing right there. And my mom just shot me these evil eyes, and I was standing there, I had a mic in one hand and a cold Bud Light in the other, and I kind of said, oh, crap. And I said, but there's one thing that I know that I'm never going to be able to be better than my brother at, and that's picking a wife. And, I said, Gretchen, welcome to the family. We're so glad to have you. And everybody went, ah. And then I looked over here, and my now wife, then girlfriend, was standing right there, and she was giving me the same look that my mom had just given me. And I just said, I gave the microphone to Paige and said, I'm out. I'm done. I'm done digging my own hole. But, I thought I had, growing up, I thought I knew what my plan was going to be. And I quickly realized that those are all just goals. And when Coach Krenzel came to Ohio State, he put up, everybody has goals, and you have your mission. For businesses, you have your mission statement. But it's how do we react in times of stress, in times of adversity? And to me, that's where that plan is, that foundation in our lives. What do you value the most, and what's most important? Is it growth? Is it money? Or is it stability? Is it faith? Is it family? Is it doing the right thing every single time, regardless if it's going to make a decision harder or if it's going to make a situation more difficult to be successful? And for me personally, and my family and the way I was raised, my foundation is centered around my faith. It's centered around my family. It's centered around the community, and it's centered around, as often as possible, obviously we all make mistakes, but it's centered around making the right decision and doing what's right by others before you do what's right by yourself. And that's what really brings my foundation. And from an organizational level, I had a chance to really see it in action when Coach Krenzel came to Ohio State in 2001. Because if you've read Jim Tressel's book, the Winner's Manual, he talks about the block O of life. And it's, admittedly, when he came in, I was 20 years old, and he starts talking about this, and the Ohio State football program, he puts a mission statement up, and then he says, here's how we're going to accomplish it, and he unveils this block O of life, and the rest of us are sitting around looking at it going, really? We need to talk about X's and O's and plays and all these things that are important that are going to help us win football games. But as I look back, I realized how important that type of stuff is in our lives, to build that foundation and that plan. And when Coach Krenzel was there, we had 6 things that we focused on as a football program, and they were our family, they were your faith and your spiritual background and well-being, your community, academics, then your football family, your teammates, and strength and conditioning. And I remember when he unveiled this, besides thinking it was pretty corny, sitting there thinking to myself, of these 6 things, only 2 of them have anything to do with the game of football, our teammates and strength and conditioning. And everything else that we would talk about was about decision making and how you treat other people, and what it takes to be a well-rounded person that's going to translate into success in every walk of life. Because it's easy at times to cut corners, to make a wrong decision because it might seem easier. And we're seeing that all over the country. We've seen it within our own football program at Ohio State. We've seen it at other programs all over the country and in all different sports, at the collegiate level, the NFL level, businesses. Obviously we don't have to look very far in business and politics to see corruption and see people trying to choose the easier decision because it's going to be what's best for them. And I firmly believe that the people that are the most successful are the ones that are always looking, how can I serve somebody else? How can I make your life better? How can I help make him a better football team? Or how can I make this offense better? To me, those are the ones that have long-term sustained success. And that's, to do something good today, if you're, out on the streets 10 years from now, that's not the way that I think you measure success. So having that foundation and having that plan is a great place to start. And I think Rosie Jones talked yesterday a little bit about being prepared. And to me, that's the second most important thing is preparation. To make sure we're ready, because you never know what your opportunity is going to look like, when you're going to get an opportunity, and how it's going to present itself. And I got a chance to see that firsthand in my football career. When I was at Ohio State, I was a backup quarterback behind then starter and one of my best friends and then roommate Steve Bellisari. And my opportunity in 2001 to get my first start came when Steve made an unfortunate decision and got himself into trouble and got suspended from a game. But I had been at Ohio State for 3 years at that point, and I had been learning and studying the game of college football, studying our offense, doing whatever I could be doing to be prepared. And when that opportunity came, I was ready. I was confident to step out on the field, and went to Michigan and basically babysat. It didn't hurt that we had 160 yards rushing in the first half, and John DeVar from Michigan threw us 5 interceptions in that game. But I was ready. I was prepared, and that helped launch the way to more starts, more games, and a really fun, incredible run for my junior and senior year. And conversely, when I was in the NFL, I actually saw a cartoon the other day. I was reading the newspaper and I saw a cartoon. You guys ever heard the old analogy, the cliche, like 2 mice fell in a bucket of milk and one of them just quit and drowned and the other one struggled and struggled so hard that he worked his way out because he turned the milk into butter? Y'all ever heard that? Well, I saw this cartoon and it was something about being prepared. And in the bucket was the one mouse just laying there, and climbing out of the bucket was the second mouse that was turning it into butter, and then standing right there was a cat, just looking at it with his mouth open. And it just kind of made me laugh, because how many times in life we can get so focused on one thing that we're not prepared for, what's right around the corner or what's next. But that concept of preparation, making sure you're ready, doing whatever you can do to just be ready to seize an opportunity when you get it, because you don't know when you're going to get it. It's paramount in football. And I had a chance to live it at Ohio State. And conversely, I think I saw a couple pictures flying by of some of the worst days of my life and career in a Chicago Bears uniform. We got any Bears fans here? Sorry. I was fortunate enough to live a dream after my career at Ohio State and play a couple years in the NFL. And I was a 5th-round pick for the Chicago Bears in the 2004 NFL Draft. And I was a project guy. I knew it. Anybody that knows football that knew who I was knew it. I had things physically I needed to work on. The game at the NFL level it's you can't even put it into words. When I was in college, I didn't realize how good those guys were. I thought, yeah, the best players and the best athletes, they're the ones that go on and play in the NFL, and they're going to be a little better. It's not even close. It's night and day. Not only are the biggest, fastest, and strongest, but it's all you do. You're there all day long. They're incredibly precise in everything they do. To this day, I still flip on a game on Sundays and watch some of the things that the Drew Breeses and the Tom Bradys and some of these guys can do, and it blows my mind away. Things that I could physically never do. They'll complete passes that I would have never even thought of attempting. And I knew this going into my rookie year. I knew I had a lot to work on. I knew that I had things that needed perfected, a lot to learn. I had physically things that I needed to become a better passer and a thrower of the football. And I was going to be given that opportunity, which was great. And I got to Chicago. Week 2, Rex Grossman tears his ACL in Minnesota. And I was the number 3 quarterback, or then number 2 quarterback, obviously elevated to starter. Jonathan Quinn, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And I'll never forget, after his first start, we're sitting in the training room before practice one day in Chicago, and John looks at me and he says, he's from Tennessee, he says, I don't know, Craig. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I don't know about me as a starter in this league. And I kind of looked at him like, I went home that night and told my wife, I said, Beth, I'm going to have to play this year. And, she asked me what I was talking about, and I told her. And, sure enough, 3 weeks later, we're in Tampa, and we come in at halftime, and we're losing, of course. And they come up to me and say, hey, you're starting the second half. I said,